Conversations with Carla. Well, today we have the lovely Carla Seworth and Mr. Shelton Seworth.
Yes.
How are y'all?
We're good. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
You want to go first?
Sure. I'm Shelton. Like you said, we have a company called J Agape Art and Entertainment Media Company that is just designed to platform Christian entertainers. One of our most popular events together is called Men versus Women, where we talk about relationships.
Right.
Wow. Okay. And what about you, Miss Carla?
I'm just like this good looking guy right here. So yes,
Okay, help me.
I've been voluntold to be the co-host for the Men versus Women event. So really great events for singles, married, no matter what stage of life you're in. So we get to do those events together. We get to have very vulnerable, open conversation open dialogue about relationships. So
That is awesome. So where are you guys actually from?
Want me to start with?
go ahead.
I'm originally from Virginia.
Okay.
I moved here in 2001. I'm from Virginia, and I love Texas
All right.
because I'm at my boo.
I was originally born in Indiana. I've been in California for a little bit, and then I've been the majority of my life I've been in Texas.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. So, and you said that you have an entertainment business. Like, so how did you actually get started
That's
with
a good
that?
question. That's a good question. How did you get started?
Well, it was when I lived in Virginia. It was something that I had thought about. That as far as Christians getting outside of the four walls of the church and reaching people. So it kind of was born then. I started using or building a business plan then, but it didn't come into fruition until almost 15 years later. I went through a divorce. I had went through probably like a season of deconstruction or just really trying to figure out my spirituality. But then when I came back, like the prodigal son, when God, called me to myself, my senses, he reminded me like I had something to do. And so it all happened kind of all at once. He showed me my wife,
Wow.
Carla. Our first year being married, we had a son. We started doing J Agape events. And one day she had came to me. The anniversary of J Agape is my birthday actually, because she asked me, "Hey, what do you want to do for your birthday?" I said, "I want to do a J Agape event." And she was like, "Okay, what is J Agape?"
Wow.
And I had already kind of shared with her that I wanted to do something like that, just maybe not in detail. And we just, when we stepped, all of the artists, we did our first thing was an open mic, basically. So all the poets, all the singers, all the people just came out of the woodworks and was like, "Yeah, we wanna share our gift." And
Wow.
rented out a apartment complex,
Like the clubhouse.
clubhouse, and it grew from there. And it just took legs of its own. We just had to give God our yes, and we've been doing it 16 years later.
Wow, that is so awesome. So that includes what? Open mic.
We did open mics, showcases, comedy showcases, singing showcases, art shows.
Wow.
It grew into a podcast, a couple of different podcasts, because as I was going out and kind of promoting some of our events, as you can see, or you'll soon see, we talk a lot, and we don't mind being transparent about our life and what God has brought us through and what He's taken us to. And so, people suggested, "Hey, you should have a podcast of your own." And so
Wow.
that kind of took legs of its own, and then it allowed us to meet other artists and kind of branch out into other states and stuff like that. So, it's when you give him your yes and you just finally are obedient to what he asks you to do, you find that he kind of already has things already in place. So.
Yes. And so what's the name of your podcast?
Our podcast, so I have two podcasts.
Okay.
One that is kind of like a cultural podcast that we talk about cultural things through believers' lens, basically. It's called The Re-Up Live. Lasagna Witt, I think you're familiar with her.
Yes.
She's a co-host on that, Deion Miller. And then me and my wife, one of the events that kind of came from J Agape was this Men versus Women event. It was supposed to be only one time.
One time.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was the very first time where I think my wife started realizing that this J Agape thing was both of our things.
Yes.
Because it was a major contribution from her. We were having one of our own little discussions, marriage discussions, and when we got to the end of it, we realized that we wanted the same thing. We were just kind of coming at it from two different directions.
Right.
And you want to talk more about that, men versus women?
With Men versus Women, honestly, when I thought about it, I really was thinking of it from the lens of, we have 5 boys, so let me just back up for a second. We have 5 boys, we are a blended family. So my husband mentioned that he was married before, I'm his second wife, and so I got 3 bonus babies through his previous relationship, and so and then I brought I say babies, but they're grown. They're grown, but they're my babies, but I brought a young man into our marriage, and then we had a love child together.
Okay.
And so now he on the fence. We try to push him through, but he's 17 and he graduate this coming year, so we will be empty nesters soon. And I looked at it by having 5 boys. I wanted something to be able to reach back to the youth. When I speak to people, it's not that I did anything right. It's really coming from a place of, I'm telling you advice because I did it all wrong. And so when we talked about men versus women, we were thinking about younger versions of ourselves.
Wow.
And we wanted to, because we spent a lot of time with our boys. We spent a lot of time pouring into them, telling them our flaws, telling them the things we missed, how we missed it here, but and so anyways, that's where Men versus Women originally was like, okay, let's do this event. We'll do it one time. I even tried to give it away at one point. I was like, I don't want to do it. And the person I tried to give it to said, no, if God gave it to you, you got to do it.
That's right.
So it was really the beginning of God showed me how to stand side by side. It was multiple layers. When you think you're doing something for somebody else, God will show you how you got a lesson in this too. And so I thought, to be a good wife, okay, we should do events. Okay, that's what you want to do. Okay, but God was really showing me how to stand, with my husband and that in partnership. Yeah. And so I fall kicking and screaming. I won't lie to the audience. I didn't do it willingly because I just wanted to be in the background. My heart was in the right place, and God was like, it's got to come out of you, and so that's kind of how Men versus Women. And to his point, we have a lot of discussions like that. We'll wake up. God woke one of us up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're waiting for signs of life from the other person. Are you woke? Are you woke? Are you breathing? Are you moving? When you find out that person's up, it's like, let me tell you about this. What you think about? So we have all throughout our marriage, we've had lots of conversations like that. So one started out, the other one finishing it, and I'll always say to him, I know it sounds crazy, I know it don't make sense. He says, no, I get you. You know what I mean? And so that's a lot of what is displayed through Men versus Women is a continuation of a conversation we've had. So.
Wow, that was a rich answer. And you just talked about partnership. I love that word because marriage, it's a partnership. And so when did you actually meet?
Oh, child.
And how did you meet?
So we're gonna take it back. So we met at a call center. So he was a supervisor. And I was just started on. I'm trying to just choose my words wisely. I'm not gonna say that I didn't like him, but I didn't like him. You know, he was just so happy and so good morning, and I was like, please, we are at work, you know. And so I started under a different supervisor, and there was a point that a couple of times I did work under him, but it was just strictly a regular, you know, boss and associate relationship. I really didn't see Shelton in that way. And so he used to really just kind of get under my skin because he would always push me, you know, push me. Hey, I can't, mysteriously, he can't show up for this meeting. Can you go in my place? Why? You know, and so he just always just, even now, he just was always calling a bigger, better version of him to the front.
Yes.
And so I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy him being my boss because his standards are, you know, his leadership is impeccable. Like I say that, like for real. His leadership is amazing. But so that's how we met. I wanted to get out of there because I don't know if you've ever done call center work before, but it was tough.
So, I mean, just to fill in some of the gaps, I won't say gaps, but when I met Carla, one of the reasons why I was pushing her so much is I saw leadership in her.
Yes.
You know, I saw something in her, and you know, it was just until recently in one of our conversations where I realized that from the day I met her, God gave me a special set of eyes to see her.
Yes.
Right? And we were talking in the green room before this, and I was telling you that, you know, I went through a season of just kind of falling away from God. So when I met her, I was kind of in that season. I was really not going to church. I really wasn't.
Tell them what you said.
About what?
I don't trust women.
Yes. I had gone through a kind of messy divorce and just didn't have a lot of trust for women. So when I was dating, I was pretty honest. I would be like, hey, this is not going any further than whatever, you know. But but with Carla, you know, like she said, we worked together, and so I would have need for like a lead or someone to kind of, you know, fill in and step up, and she was just the obvious choice always to me. And so we worked together off and on for almost 3.5, 4 years. And we, during that time, became good friends. She was dating other people. I was, you know, like I said, dating other people. It was until we kind of got to like a quiet place. And I had never thought I was going to get married again. Again, the experience wasn't that great for me. But when God kind of called me back to my purpose and I kind of got settled down, and he kind of walked me through some maturity and growth in myself as a man, and how, you know, he kind of checked me like on my first marriage, like how I made the decision and some of the things I did out of order, you know, and let me know I needed to take more accountability for the decisions I made. It wasn't his his thought. Yeah. And so during my prayer, I remember praying one day and asking, you know, I think I do want to, you know, get married again. You know, who would I want to be married to? And a picture of Carla popped in my mind, and I'm like, she was like a little sister to me at that time. And that's how I kind of looked at her, like more protector, but like, you know, off limits. And so I was like, God, Carla? And I remember calling her. Some friends of mine was going out and they were trying to do some double date type things, and I called her out of the blue and she said, are you asking me on a date? And I was like, yeah. So, you know, the good thing about it is we knew each other for 4 years. She got to kind of see me, I think, at my lowest point of my life, you know, like just really trying to figure things out. So, you know, when we got together, I think it was easier. Like, there was no need for a facade or you know, or, you know, we knew each other. You know, our kids actually knew each other at that time, because she would always invite my sons when they would come down for the summer to come to her son's birthday party, or our son's birthday party. So all of that just kind of, by the time we got together, it just seemed like common sense. Like, wow, why didn't we think of this earlier?
Yes, wow. This is so power packed to me because you just talked about trusting after going through a challenging relationship, and you talked about how he was pulling things out of you.
Right.
So I love that because that's what true partnership is. And so I want you to expound on coming out of your comfort zone.
Ooh.
Coming out of your comfort zone and pretty much having an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And someone not allowing you to kind of sit back in the
right. It's still happening today.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't say it like it's a finished work. It's still happening today.
But that's a good thing.
It is a beautiful thing because to be honest with you, I'm a very guarded person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like to sit back and I like to observe. I don't really, as tall as I am, I'm 5'9", you know what I mean? I got some weight on me. I'm like 195, so it's not like I'm a small, like I can just come in any room and be quiet, but that's how I've always just kind of been, just walk in, just don't make a fuss, and so, it's interesting with the dynamic of it because really being with a person like Shelton is what I call big brain. So, and he's almost like a unicorn because he has big ideas, big, vast, ideas, but then he's also equally creative.
Yes.
So he can paint, he can draw, he can, the love for the arts, not musically inclined, but can hear. You hear that?
Yes.
You hear? And I'm like, hear what? You know what I mean? Oh, babe, just take your time, listen to the words.
Yeah.
What am I listening for? So he just has that. He's gifted like that. And so me, on the other hand, I'm very analytical. I'm very in the details. I'm very in 1 + 1 has to come to 2, and so I bounce a lot off of him, but our relationship really allowed me to hide behind him because he's so vast by himself, and so what he does for me is he pulls me out and say, hey, you're a force by yourself. So he's not the type of man that, how do I say this? I don't want to sound offensive, but he doesn't mind me shining. He's like, he's the one that's pushing. He's the one that's saying, I'll say, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if hey, why you don't think you can do it? You know what I mean? And so he makes it so simple. I feel like, you're right. I sure can, so, but he's just like my biggest cheerleader when it comes to walking and stepping in my purpose and being comfortable in my skin. And so, I think that's the balance. And like I say, I would be lying to say I just got it together. It's a day by day thing because the more that God is revealing more of who he called me to be, I've got this support system that's undergirding me to be comfortable in that. You know what I mean? So a lot of things happened younger in my childhood. A lot of things that really the enemy seemed like it was just after my identity.
Yes.
And so having a partner that affirms you and not dig a hole in it. You've got a wound and you don't want somebody to stick their thumb in it, you know what I mean? But to actually nurture it and bring healing to it, you know what I mean? And reassure me, because there's lots of places where, I feel insecure. Like, I was a guest on his show this week and I was reading the Bible and I didn't have my glasses on and I just made up a word. It wasn't even a word. And so I got on the show and said, what in the world? What would I say? And so with that all big, he's like, babe, think about all the other wonderful things you said. So he just has a way to gather. So that's what I'm saying in partnership. So my prayer as a wife is I never want to be the type of person that just eat and throw this starter and walk away. And when you love me, I want to outlove you. You know what I mean? I want to. So I have to pray and ask God, like, how do I love him back?
Yes.
You know what I mean? How do I? I know I not like that, but how do I give back to him, you know? So sometimes he's asking me for things that I'm like, whoa, I didn't see us doing this type of event, you know, with this many people, or, you know, babe, just come on, it's X amount of people, and I'm thinking, but because of him, it's like, you gonna be there? I'm gonna be there. Okay, you know.
Yes. Wow.
So,
Wow. I just love this because, you know, even as chosen vessels, the enemy is after our identity, especially in childhood.
Yes.
So he never wants us to start a thing.
Yeah.
So he has to, he has to jab at that confidence.
Yeah.
He has to try to strip us before we can even find out who we are.
That's right.
And so I love how you talk about how he reassures you.
Yeah.
And gives you, that.
He's good for my mental. My sister was talking to my baby sister, and she said, because I don't ask for much. I don't ask for this. I'm not a material or this. And my sister said, you know what? She said, because she loves her brother-in-law. Look, they are best buds. But she said, I see what you see in him. She said, he's good for your mental, and he is. And when she gave me that phrase around it, I know how I feel when I'm with him, but when she put that on it, I was like, he really is, because it's things in me that I can't organically help.
Yes.
But my outside help, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So respecting him for that, he's able to call me out when I'm wrong, or, see things in me that might not be such good things in my character, but because it's coming from him, I can take it. You know what I mean? So he don't have a stake in the game. What does he gain from it? He'll say to me, babe, if I ask you to do something and you say I don't know, that means no. He'll say, if you don't give me a yes, then I know we're not doing it. And I never knew that about me. I was like, really? So he's able to challenge me in a way that doesn't, put me on guard and get defensive. And, now early in marriage, yes, I would have, that wall up, but just being with him, he's my trusted space, so.
Yes, I think you just said something so key, because when you know the intent of someone's heart,
yes,
you won't be offended.
That's
You're
right.
not easily offended.
Right.
And so I think it's important for us to know, who we're with, and even have that understanding.
Yeah.
That's where that trust comes in. Wow.
Yep.
So, how long did it take you to have a good I know that this relationship is ongoing, right? But how long did it take for you to kind of get to a more stable ground?
What year is this? 2025, probably. I really don't know, because for starters, like Shelton said, we had a friendship, so we already had a foundation that even when we don't get things all the way right or see eye to eye, this friendship that we were allowed to build up front, we lean on that. You know what I mean? So I don't really know.
I think you're right on. I think as we get to different stages, it's more growth. It's more finding out about each other, and we change. As people. So it's one of the things I know we always have to remind ourselves to do, because we can get so busy with work and businesses and kids and stuff, is date. Because we have to keep looking at each other and keep seeing, like, where are you today? Where are you now? Where's your mental, right now? So it's just constant. I think you get to another level, and it's just I'm realizing it's a lot similar to our walk with God. Like, you feel like you get to this, and okay, God, I got it, and then there's some more, and then there's some more. And, like Paul said, the more I know about God, the more you realize you don't. And so I think just our foundation, though, of friendship. Like, if we weren't together, we would probably just still be really, really great friends. You know what I mean? And so to well, not now. But I'm just saying that, like, previous to that, I think is that foundation. And one of the things I think I learned about what true love looks like, it's commitment.
Yes.
It's not always, like, I can tell you, she don't always like me, and I don't always like her, and so what still is gonna bring you home is that commitment, the memories of, the things that you have built together, the times that you've, this person, like you said, knowing each other's heart, like we've invested moments into each other, where we can't let the enemy ever tell us like, oh, this person he doesn't like me, he hates you, or you know what I mean? Like God's given us these different seeds to always pull back on, like, no, this person cares about me and this person loves me, and so we've made that commitment. We come home every night. We may not talk about it right away, but in a couple of days we're gonna have a conversation and then make sure that we work through whatever, because of that. And that was, learning from my first marriage and this marriage, I found someone that had that same commitment, towards me that I wanted to have towards her, because that is what keeps you together when, the feelings go away. A lot of people get together on the feelings. Oh, the way he makes me feel. Like, truth be told, if you've been married for any time, like, the feeling is not always there.
That's so good.
What I do, just to interject, what I love about him though is I watch him work on him. So like when you see people like that, you don't marry a perfect person.
Yes.
There's gonna be some holes on them. There's gonna be some childhood stuff. There's gonna be he was married before. I wasn't married before, but being that I hadn't seen a successful marriage, I brought all that, into our union. So, but I love to see that he's always working and pushing for that better version of Shelton. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so you can work with something. When you see somebody doing something, to work on them. And then the same for me. So in our household, we're big about accountability. If you did wrong, say sorry. You know what I mean? And then have that corrective behavior. But just to act like it didn't happen or just come back around like, no, we need to talk about it. You know what I mean? We need to have a conversation about it, and then we need to figure out how to navigate through that. You know what I mean? And so, but we learn that by, bumping our head, because early in marriage, let me just say, he wanted to be married. I was not so fond of marriage because of that worldview. I was just like, and he let it be known, like, I'm not shacking up. I'm not gonna live in a house with somebody that's not my wife, and he has standards about it, which I was like, I want to be with you, and so I'm not gonna get married to you to be with you, but he was what I wanted, not so much marriage. I wanted him. It wasn't like picket fence and just ask Shelton. I never had those childhood esteems. It was him. It was like, okay, well, if that's what the man said I gotta do, then I will be his wife, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, and I love that because you basically had a standard.
Yes.
And you didn't let that fall. So,
when I met her, I had a standard. So, like she said, it's all about growth and learning. We're gonna fall. And I tell young men all the time, I had to find my purpose first to make it real clear on who I needed to live my life with.
That's so good.
I need to know where I was going, what I was going to be doing, and what God had for me before I knew who was going to be able to do that with me. And so, again, that's what he showed me. So the pressure that she talks about, like when we're doing events, I get to talk with her. I was talking to her behind the scenes before anyone heard, right? So I heard wisdom, from someone that, didn't grow up in church or didn't have some of the experiences. I could hear God, giving her nuggets where she didn't even know this is biblical what you're talking about. So God confirmed all the way along, all along, this is your wife. And so, when she talks about me pushing towards, I get happy because that's God's promise that this is who she is, and seeing her blossom into that or become, part of that is just, it's amazing to me. I don't see when people are with their partners where it seems like it's a competition.
Yes.
I know men versus women, our event sounds like it's a competition thing, but really what we're trying to do is let them know that no, it's a partnership. It's how we, yes, you're going to see things differently, but how do you cleave? How do you come together? Because that's the journey that we've been on. She's a very strong, strong, independent woman on herself. Like anything that she's done or can do, she can very well do it on her own. And I'm very strong on my own. I'm a leader in my own right. But when we get together, like it's exceptional. Like everything that we've done together is, beyond imagination. And learning how to work through that.
Yes.
Our first year, I remember doing J Agape. We've shared this a couple of times at our events, but like you said, I'm a big brain vision. I'll come to her like, hey, we're gonna do this event, we're gonna do this, and she was like, how are we gonna pay for that? How much does that cost? And I would be like, oh, why are you just shooting down all my ideas? And then, because at first I didn't recognize that yes, we were made differently. Like she's basically giving me the details to this vision that I want to, make happen. She's giving me like the pieces that are going to be required here. So, together, we have the vision and now we have the plan, to it if we learn how to work that. So just even how we see each other have to change, and appreciate each other's gifts. That's her gift. And she's very detail oriented. She's, her trade is looking through contracts and, finding errors and things like that. So, of course, her language is going to be like that.
Yes.
But we had to learn how to talk and communicate in a way to where we're using our gifts and our talents to better suit what God's purpose is.
So we're a big sports-oriented family, and so all of our kids play some sport. You name it, soccer, football, basketball. So with our youngest, he is wrapping up his senior season in football, and so one of the terms that they have in football is like playing complementary football, like saying how the offense and defense kind of. So I stole it, right? Basically, I stole it, and I liked it so much. I thought about it in terms of marriage because that's how it's supposed to be. It's a compliment. You're a complement to each other. So it's finding that balance with one another. Like he said it. I would say more stubborn, more strong-willed. My no really is my no.
Right.
And so, with my marriage, I have to soften that. You know what I mean? And so, like he's saying, early in marriage, he would bring me an idea, and all I did was pick it apart. So, and I watched how it impacted him because basically, it was making him feel some type of way, like she just shut me down. You know what I mean? And so. And that's you never want to kill, the inspiration. You never want to kill no idea is a dumb idea. You know what I mean? So I had to learn how to watch my mouth, you know what I mean? And have a balance to that and say, you know what? Great idea, honey, but have you considered? And then we come together with those details, but it's all in the approach of how I would balance it out with him. And we went through a few events where it was just rough and raw. I don't like that. No, I don't want to do it with that person. Or and he would say, well, what's your reason? What's the point? And I just don't like him. And so that's not enough to stand on. And so it was finding a way. One key thing I think that people should learn to do is learn how to communicate with your spouse.
That's so good.
He has a language. I have a language. You know what I mean? And so when you and we are capable of it because when we go into corporate America, we talk their language. We don't go into our boss and say, "What was the stupid email you sent?" You know that was stupid, right? We don't say that. You know what I mean? We know how to say, "Well, boss, I think we should say this instead." We know how to do that, but in marriage, we don't want to use the energy to do it. But this is important. important to
That's
me.
right.
So I have to learn how to not kill his spirit and just like, oh, that's so stupid, that's not gonna work, we're not doing that, that's not gonna get me anywhere, you know what I mean? So I have to be a student of his. And this is 2025, like I said, I'm learning to still learn him and learn how he's changing, you know what I mean? And learning like that, you know, that may have hurt his feelings. So I'll circle back sometimes and say, hey, I know it came out this way, but this is what I really meant by it. He's like, babe, I don't care, you know, but I'm checking because I don't ever want to hurt him, you know, so it's just a balance, finding that balance. And I'm the worst when it comes to balance. I'm either this way or that way. So my marriage challenges me to, you know, just meet him in the middle. Like, where is the middle? Meet him in the middle with it. And so, but he's worth that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So he's worth that. So
I just love this. And you said something earlier when you were talking about going through different seasons. And, you know, seeing where both of you are, right? I think that's so important because I feel like that's the downfall of many marriages where, you know, you're not even the same person I married. We're not supposed to be the same people as when we first got married, right? Because we grow. And you find out different things about yourself, let alone your partner.
right.
So how is it that you how often would you say that you kind of check with each other, or because I know that I'm a newlywed, and I know that many marriages would actually, have more of a survival rate if we would just check in with each other, if we would communicate with each other, if we would try to understand each other.
Yeah.
You know?
So we have a thing in our house called the love bubble. And so the only people that's allowed in the love bubble is just him and I.
Oh, that's so cute.
Now, I jump out the love bubble all the time, so that I stay in it, but I do jump out. And the way that the love bubble is it's the imaginary thing, but it's us putting us first.
That's so good.
And so by us having young men, and contrary to what people may think, boys are mama's boys through and through, and all 5 of my boys is crazy about me. So, so with that, it's just making sure that I'm not so tasked and bogged down with what's for dinner.
Yes.
Such and such has this, I don't know, we have grandkids. We have 4 beautiful grandkids. So, so it's just all these day-to-day things. And then, like my husband said, he's been in leadership for 25 plus years, and so I'm in leadership. And so with that, you have the demands of having teams reporting to you and working all kind of crazy hours. One recent job that he had, he was traveling a couple weeks out of the month. He'd be gone like every other week, so it took us being creative with how to have those check-ins, as you were saying. It took us, sometimes he would fly me up to wherever he was. I was getting flued out, girl, because I was like, hey, I need to see my man, And so we would have to think outside of the box, because, and I'm, like I said, I'm the one to jump out and be worried about, our moms and, all this other kind of stuff. And he'll say, hey, are you in the love bubble?
So good.
And it's kind of like, where am I?
Yes. What I see with the both of you is that you both are intentional.
Yeah.
And it might be in different ways, and you celebrate each other's differences. And so I think that's such a great thing, and that's what true partnership is. Understanding those differences and working with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bishop Jake said many moons ago, he said it takes you a long time to be good at something. He said it takes you a long time to be a good mother. It takes you a long time to be a good wife. And so that stuck to me because when we initially got together, I thought, this ain't working. I'm not good. This is not for me. I'm not good at this. You know what I mean? And so sometimes in marriage, the tension and the friction make you think that that's not, maybe I didn't choose the right person, maybe I didn't get married, but that's not, all of that tension is to grow you up. You got a decision. Every day we get up, we can decide, we can choose. Right. So we can choose to say, okay, let me entertain what he's saying. You know, I don't like it. It don't make me feel good. You know, maybe it's hurting my pride. Maybe I feel, you know, but let me entertain what he's saying. And then just taking it in and I did say that. Yes. You know, and then don't do the ultimate. When you do the ultimate and you pray about it and you try to go to the Lord with it and the Lord say, well, what did you say? Oh. Go in here and make this man some food. You know what I mean? It's just so that's the thing, is just, you know, not quitting. We quit too soon when it's really the journey of it all. So we're in that. We've been in low places together. We've been in high places. We done had money, not had money, had money. We didn't, you know, we done been in different parts of life. And when we come out of that season, you know, that bad season or that, you know, dark season or that, we looked at, man, who else would I want to be on the front line with, you know, other than, you know what I mean? Because he truly has my back, you know what I mean? So if I did, it's good to see you when you make it but it's really in those dark seasons that really developed me as a person, me as a wife, it challenged my character. It made me see what was coming out of my mouth, like, ooh, girl, you know, that's the person you want to be, you know, and so, ooh, that's how you want to treat your husband, you know, that's what you really think, and so, I just love Nobu.
She said, she keeps complimenting like leadership, right, and the man that I am. The man that most people see today is because of that friction that she's talking about. You know, one of the things I think a good marriage does is it helps uncover like the traumas. It helps uncover those moments like, oh, this is how I react. Why do I react this way at that time? And like when you're mature enough to, you know, look internally and say, you know, ask that question, why am I doing that? Then that's something that when you take it to God, He can show you like, oh, this moment. And you have practical things to take to the altar. And so, you know, a lot of my growth in leadership and professional things in life, I attribute to this relationship. Why am I not more patient in some things, right? So now people look at me and say, oh, you're patient. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I've never been patient.
When did I get here?
But yeah, it happens over time. And so that when you talk about the whole Corinthians definition of love, being patient and kind and long-suffering, all of those things, all of that is birthed when you go through those tough times, or when you go through that friction time. That's when those things are developed.
That's right.
And you asked earlier about you know, where you feel like your comfort. I don't think God ever lets us really feel comfort, because when I think back to the times where we've been comfortable, like maybe in finances and things like that, those haven't been the most growth times for me.
That's right.
Because we were so comfortable, it was kind of like moving on autopilot. You know what I mean? Like everything is, you know, so it's usually the times where, you know, things are a little like, what are we going to do next? You know, type thing. That's when, you know, that friction happens. It forces us to have conversations or anything like that. And so, you know, I'm trying to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think we're trying to be comfortable with that. Like building a business, and you know, nobody in our family ever built a business or entrepreneurs or anything like that. So doing that, you know, it's all just been a whole thing on itself, and on top of building a marriage, on top of building kids and you know, corporate America. So, but this has been a blessing. I mean, and me having the ability to see it done the wrong way and done the right way, it's just such a blessing, you know, overall to me. Like, okay, God, I see why you have certain standards and morals and certain ways of doing things, you know, and that's what we try to give. You know, we try to give as much of our transparent, authentic selves to other couples, because we love love. We love marriage. We love to see people, you know, give them the hope to work through it. You know, because you can. We went through some tough things.
I love the transparency, and what I really see in the both of you is that you don't let ego and pride get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it does take someone to be real. You know, to let go of your own ideas of what your perception of what you think should be happening.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta be flexible.
Yeah.
We grew up very similar, but our childhoods developed us in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so you can't be so rigid in marriage. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, you gotta entertain the thought of something different. You know, you could be wrong. I think in marriage we have the hardest time just knowing we don't know it all. Like, as great as I am, I don't know half the time what I'm doing. It's not, you know. And so to your point about having ego, you get kind of beat down in that area. God hammers on that to say, hey, humble yourself, humble yourself, humble yourself, humble yourself. You know, you think, oh, I'll just go out here and get another, you know, guy or, you know, a girl or what, you know, but if you gonna be in that situation, guess what? You're gonna have problems over there. Exactly. So it's this repeat of just character building. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like in the beginning of the year, he'll have a word and it'll just be in his mouth and he'll just keep saying it. And just the rest of the year, we're chewing on that word. And so it's been about 3 years and it was just about character. Like, what's in your heart? And we're just watching God break us down, you know, just go through on an individual level, you know, go through, you know, just these gaps and things that happened to me in childhood, things that happened to him in childhood, and God just constantly just drilling in on that. And what's your response? And what's your response? You know, am I still not God? You know, and just pulling up all of this stuff that we're harboring and holding in our heart.
Yes.
And he's the closest thing to me. So he's gonna catch all of it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Good, bad, indifferent. He see me with the bonnet on, with the moo-moo on. You know, he see the real me.
Yes.
So by him getting all of that, imagine how much is coming out of my heart that he's hearing too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and the same for him. You know, there's things where, you know, I'll be thinking about something and I'll start crying, you know. So how he interacts with me, it didn't happen to him. He wasn't there. He wasn't even the reason why I'm crying. But how he interacts with me makes or breaks that situation.
Yes.
And the same for him. When he's sharing something in his heart with me, it's important. We all know not to use it in argument. And we know all of this stuff. And then as soon as you get into a little scrap, then... but you're just like that because your daddy was like that. You know, it's like, what? You know, so it's important how we engage with each other and how when I show you my dirt, what you do with it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Do you use it against?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And
That's
so that's we have to navigate through that through marriage. You know, when you let your mask down, when people get to see who you are, you know, it's important first is showing I trust you.
Yes.
You know, if I'm able to take this all down and you see me in raw form, you know, I don't want you to ridicule me or, you know, make fun of me or, you know, you know, as women, baby, we gonna put some hair in, we gonna take some hair out. I'm somebody different every week, so. But he get to see me.
Yes,
So,
the real you.
The real me. So
Strip down and all.
Strip down.
Yeah.
So how he engages is important because to his point, I am strong, but in my raising, you don't cry.
Yes.
And so for me to cry, and especially as much as I cry these days, it used to really bother me for him to see me cry. I'll just hurry up and you're not gonna see me crying, you know.
Right.
But when he started embracing me and bringing me in, I'm like, please don't hug me. You know, get off of me. I'm strong, you know. But when he would embrace me, I thought, oh my goodness. He's seeing me at my lowest, something I absolutely hate to do, and this is his response.
Mhm.
So,
That's
you know, when we
good.
show who we are, it's important in marriage to be careful with that. It's gentle, it's
Yes.
fragile, you know what I mean? So, but that's a learned
Behavior.
It's
Yes.
a learned behavior.
Wow. I feel like I'm in marriage counseling. This is so rich. I mean, wow. I just love how real you guys are. So, what are you currently doing? What would you like the audience to know about you?
Yeah, Shelton, what are you currently doing?
Well, you are one.
What are you doing? You know I'm gonna be there.
Well, we did just recently release a journal.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of touched on it earlier, but it's called Our First Journal. And one of the things we started doing a couple of years back, I wish we would have known to do it earlier, but we're catching back up, is to track down all of our firsts. You know,
Wow.
so our first time out of the country together, our first time in
that's
Puerto Rico,
awesome.
our first time, you know, rappelling from a building or going to swim or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so this journal has just a whole bunch of quotes and things that we have kind of held near and dear to our heart. But it's a way to track all of your firsts. So whenever we have a first now, we can just put it in that journal and be able to come back to it, like when there's a tough time, like those moments where I'm saying you need to pull back from your memory on who this person really is and who they've been to you all these years. And so that's been a big thing for us lately. And then of course Men versus Women is kind of taking legs of its own. I know we said it earlier, it was only supposed to be one event, but every time we do one, it's like, when is the next one?
Wow.
When are you guys gonna do this again? And really it's a moment of just starting a conversation. Because like I said, it's stuff that you don't normally get to talk about in church, maybe not even in the world in a healthy way, but we talk about it and we put our business out on the street, and I think it makes people feel a little bit more comfortable to share their hearts and their thoughts about things. Men really talk at these events. And I know that's not common, because we're not big talkers when it comes to our feelings, our emotions, or how we really think about things. But my fellas really show up and they talk, and the women love it because they get to hear, what's really going on in our minds. And so that, next year coming up, we're working on a tour to go to different states with it. So, things are just kind of taking. We're along for the journey. Like God, we're just learning. The word this year was obedience. So when God says it, to do it. No matter what. Like He said, do it. How crazy, how out of this world, out of situations, whatever may seem like they go completely get it, but just go ahead and do it. And so that's what we've been on all this year. Is just learning to be obedient. And the timing that comes with that, and get on God's rhythm with it. And so those are the big things. And then we started getting off, but the podcast that we have together is called Pillow Talk, which is a derivative of what we do with Men versus Women, where we just pick a topic and we lay down next to our pillow and we let the audience in on some of our project conversations. So, that's it, I would say. Anything I missed?
Nope.
So, how can our audience get in touch with you, or even look for some of the projects that you guys have?
About how people can reach us, it's www.jagape.com. All of the things that we do is kind of under that umbrella. And just, I don't want to assume that everybody knows what agape means, but that agape love is unconditional love, basically. The J is just for Jesus, and that was the name He gave to me. kind of the sidebar of like what I'm saying as far as the growth. It wasn't until a couple of years ago where I even understood, you know, I understood it was unconditional love, but the journey that we've been going on is really the practice with each other of learning what unconditional love is. And so, you know, all of our events, we want that atmosphere. We don't, whatever season people are in their life, whether they're believers, not believers, was believers, whatever, we want them there and we want them to feel unconditional love. Because we believe that that's what it starts with. It starts with that you get loved on, you experience God's love. It really ain't no going back from that. So
yes. Well, I have truly enjoyed this conversation. I'm gonna have to actually have y'all on again. Okay. This is so rich, and I know that our audience is going to appreciate this just as much as I did. But
thank you for having us.
Oh, this was just really awesome, and I can't wait to actually discover more about you. Wow, this is what I truly call a power couple, and it's not about perfection, but it's about, you know, that transparency and what's real and what's really making your marriage even and your businesses succeed. You know, and people need to hear this. You know, I feel like I've been in marriage counseling for real. I mean, I don't know about any of you out there, but anyway, I've truly enjoyed this conversation, and I can't wait to have you guys on again.
Awesome.
And
I was back.
Yes. And with that said, I will see you guys next week here on Candid Conversations with Carla at 7:30 Central Standard Time. All right.